Drugs and Addiction, an Anarchist Perspective, Dickie Dredd. This is still on Chapter 1, The Drug War in the Mind. It's part 13 of the video series. So Section 11, Healing as Rebellion, from Fear to Freedom. This is the last part in Chapter 1, in fact. To heal in this society is to rebel. The whole industrial circus runs on fear. Fear of failure, fear of ageing, fear of being ordinary, fear of being invisible, fear that you will become overwhelmingly visible, fear that no one will press like when you post, fear that you are the issue, fear of the future. Advertising feeds it, medicine manages it, politics monetizes it. The person who stops being afraid threatens the entire machine. The addict who steps out of recovery carousel and says, "I'm well now," is more subversive than any politician preaching reform. When I finally stepped off that ride, out of self-punishment and out of secrecy, it didn't feel like redemption. It felt like disobedience. All the voices that told me I'd always be an addict just shut up. I wasn't defying them, I'd simply stopped needing their permission. Healing, I realised, isn't the restoration of order, but the discovery of autonomy. Carr's easy way works because it exposes the illusion of control. Anarchism extends the same logic to the rest of social life. Both argue that obedience is the disease, not the cure. Marte writes that the attempt to escape pain only deepens it. That truth runs from the personal to the planetary. Our civilization self-medicates with consumption and calls it growth. Healing means withdrawal, at scale, a collective detox from propaganda. When the war on drugs finally collapses, it will drag the war on consciousness down with it. Alexander showed that when community returns, addiction fades. The same rule applies to politics. Connection dissolves control. For me, the rebellion began on the inside. The old Bill in my head hung up his badge, and with him went the old fear that sobriety meant boredom. Life without illusion turned out not to be smaller, but wider. I still use drugs, but I do it by choice, not compulsion. The world feels sharper now, not fogged. That's the real dividing line, awareness versus avoidance. That's the border between slavery and freedom. Freedom has nothing to do with intoxication or abstinence. It's the ability to feel without asking permission. Foucault might have called it the art of self-care, the ethical cultivation of one's own life. Frankl would call it meaning, the one thing strong enough to survive suffering. Rogers would call it congruence, the alignment between inside and out. I call it telling the system to fuck off. Whatever the vocabulary, the experience is the same. Fear dissolves when truth is lived in daylight. The anarchist thread for all of this is simple. Healing can't be imposed from above. It grows sideways. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's solidarity. When people share food, stories, jokes, warmth, and the truth, the craving for numbness loses its purpose. A society built on equality would need far fewer drugs and no prisons. Recovery in that sense is rehearsal for revolution. I think of my mother here. Her battle with barley wine wasn't a moral failure, it was inheritance. She'd been taught to endure, never to express. My rebellion is her redemption. By living without fear or feeling, I finish what she began. Maybe that's what every generation tries to do, to turn the trauma of the last into the freedom of the next. Healing is rebellion because it refuses management. It rejects the pharmaceutical priesthood and the moral bureaucrats who live off shame. It trusts people to navigate their own consciousness and to mend harm through relationship rather than punishment. It's not the loud revolution of placards and megaphones, but the quiet revolution of honesty. Each time someone speaks their pain without apology, the architecture of fear loses another brick. As the fog clears, the landscape of childhood reappears. Behind every addiction lies an early lesson. How love became conditional, how fear learnt to speak first, how escape became the family business. The next chapter goes there, back to the beginning of belief, to the time before armour, before choice, to the childhood of fog. So we just finished that chapter. Next up is chapter 2, Childhood of Fog, and we'll go into more depth about my own personal story and how that relates to the rest of the book. So, and that will start with section 12, which is the climate of silence.